manuals from Avari and Adobe Premiere Pro. How soon can that be provided?
Excuse me just for a sec. Could I just have till after lunch to find out whether we've already provided it or not?
Sure. But otherwise, if it hasn't been provided, would you be able to provide those today?
Certainly.
And I just want to be clear as to what is the opposition is, because it sounded like there are some things that there's not an opposition to. So just everyone's on the same wavelength. To the extent the Commonwealth is seeking, well, looking at the Commonwealth numbers 1 through 5, it appears that the opposition is to 4 and 5, the time overlay and the frame syncing.
Yes, Your Honor, that's right.
But not to using video segments or sequence camera views or side-by-side camera views other than the side-by-side to the extent there is syncing.
That's correct.
So 1 through 3.
Yeah.
And on the with respect to the still photographs, again, as I understand it, the Commonwealth is not opposed to enlargements, but to the method of these enlargements, which is sort of adding pixels, resampling versus resizing, increasing the size of each pixel. Is
Correct.
That right?
If they were to take those 35 PNG images and produce them in the original pixel format,
Right, where you enlarge
the
each
photographic process to enlarge it,
where you
right, would be
where you enlarge each pixel so it retains the same number of pixels, just each pixel is larger. That enlargement process, there's not an opposition to use of enlarged photos per se, but to the I guess resampling versus resizing.
correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. I wasn't sure of timing. Since we're stopping, as you know, at Wednesday at 1, we could do this Wednesday afternoon, or if there's a earlier time that would have to be.
That's fine with me, Judge. I can tell the court what I want to do. I want to look at if there's any change when we resize off the video. I want to actually print it out, put it next to a photographic copy and see if it makes a difference.
The resizing. So
right.
you'll do that resizing process.
Right, Judge. Tonight. See if it changes anything.
Right. So the resizing versus the increasing the size of each pixel versus adding 90 pixels.
I think in general, here on the Commonwealth's perspective will be that there is no longer in the world an electronic device that doesn't, within its device and its software, do exactly what the defendant is complaining. For instance, our in-court resizer does exactly the same thing.
Right, but there certainly are two ways, right, of enlarging something. One is by resizing and one is by resampling, and I think the resampling is the increasing the pixels, isn't it? And so if you, one retains the same number of pixels as in the original and the other doesn't. So if you're going to, if you can by Wednesday have done it the second way, so we can, I'll deal with that at that time.
Okay, maybe we could argue it tomorrow morning. Mr. McCauley's asked me to be able to do it tomorrow morning.
If you've done the change of the photos, and I may need, it may be something that can't be done on these papers. I may need to hear some testimony as to what distortions, if any, what's the difference, which is why it would be helpful if you did it both ways. What's the difference when you add sufficient pixels that 98% of the photo of the enlargement are new added pixels, what distortions, if any, that introduces in the process or not. So there may need to be some sort of voir dire.
Thank you, Judge.
And when did the Commonwealth first indicate that it was going to be using these as chalks or proposed exhibits?
The blow-ups, Your Honor?
Yeah.
I think we probably sent those months ago. And to be fair, they're also on the video that was sent months ago. This is not,
Well, I don't think, there's no complaint that the actual video or stills taken from the video. So I'm not asking when the video was sent. I'm asking when the defense received notice that you intended to, for example, when you met before the trial, going over all the proposed exhibits, did you list still photographs, enlargements of still photographs, which
if I could just that was.
which added, hold on, when you met to review exhibits before the trial, did you indicate that you were going to be seeking to add enlargements of still images containing 93.7%, 75% added pixels, or 97.2% added pixels? That's my question, is when did the defense have notice of those particular proposed exhibits?
First of all, we dispute the added pixels number, but beyond that, Judge, I believe that we sent them to him substantially, probably December.
Okay. And to the extent that's disputed, again, I'm going to need testimony. I may need testimony on some of these things.
Okay.
But why don't you, if you could actually do it before the end of today in terms of the other enlargement, to see whether that issue does or doesn't go away, so we can know by the end of today if I need to have the jury come in late tomorrow, if you want this issue done in the morning.
Thank you, Judge.
And on the video, we could do that portion of it Wednesday afternoon. The freeze frame portion of the, unless there's something that needed to be done before then.
But Your Honor, that sounds agreeable. The other matter was just a witness issue, so.
Sure.
But we can work with that as well.
And, but just so it's clear, without opposition, the Commonwealth's motion is allowed as to 1, 2, and 3, except to the extent that 3, that portion of 3, that includes the frame sinking.
Well, just to be clear, I think as the court understands, there's an overarching objection with respect to the video about using an exported hard drive.
Okay, so there is an objection to 1, 2, and 3 as well, then?
Well,
To any use of the exported hard drive?
let me try to be clear. They propose to export the data from the cloned hard
Right.
drive.
Right.
We object to any use of exported data.
Right.
If they want to take the information from the cloned hard drive, or as Trooper Giassi proposed to do it in December, we don't object to 1, 2, and
Right.
3.
Right, but and is 1, 2, and 3 with, that you're proposing, assuming no freeze framing sinking for the moment, on an exported drive, right?
At this time, we just want to reserve our position until after lunch, Judge, so I can kind of take a look at when we gave it to him.
Okay, so I'd like to know when, not only on the photographs, but when, if the first time it was disclosed that you were going to use an exported drive, the first time 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 was disclosed was after Dr. Stout's testimony.
I understand the court's position, Judge.
I don't have a position. I'm just asking some questions and trying to figure out when we're setting up timing to rule on any of these issues. Thank you.
Put all rise.